Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TopCyberPro podcast. I'm founder and CEO Jim West. I have a wonderful guest today. I always have wonderful guests, but this guest, we got a lot of different things to talk about because, like with a lot of my guests, wears multiple hats, has done a lot, accomplished so much so far in his career, and he's still got miles and miles and miles to go. We have Glenn Wilkinson, who is the CEO of Agger Labs, which does some pretty amazing work with ransomware and other aspects of cyber. He's also an ambassador of the hacking games, which we're going to talk about. And he's also a 3X founder of three different entities and organizations that we're going to kind of talk about what they do. But without further ado, Glenn, welcome to the Top Cyber Pro podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show, Jim. Looking forward to having a fascinating discussion.
Excellent. Well, you definitely make the rounds on world stages as well as in the news and
Yeah.
media. I've seen a few clips of you on social media of you being on some television shows. But let's just get right into your life and career so far as a hacker, speaker, and business owner, entrepreneur, and all of that. But let's start with the hacker.
Yeah.
My question I ask all my guests, and I'm going to jump the gun on
Mm.
this one, is what is your day one story? If we went back in time to when you
Mm.
decided that you wanted to be a hacker, go into IT
Yeah.
cyber and do all the security stuff, and what was that
Mm.
story?
Yeah, it's a good question. The origin story for me, it goes all the way back to my depending how far we go back. The first time I got my hands on a PC was a 286 somewhat antiquated machine. I'm not going to say the year, a very long
Yeah.
time ago. And my first, I want to say hack, air quotes hack, was when I figured out there was a game on the computer called Gorilla. It was these two gorillas, they throw bananas at each other. And I figured out it was QBasic source code, how to go into the source code and give myself infinite lives.
Ah,
Um, there's a bit of a spark at that moment that you could make the computer do things, and that was quite exciting. But the more, the closer definition to hacker, and I would go towards the definition of someone who's curious and wants to understand systems to bypass them, not the kind of cyber criminal component. But for me, it was the teenage years when the first kind of almost hacks, I would say. I grew up in Zimbabwe, down in Southern Africa. We didn't have a lot of access to technology, and back then you'd get demo games on CDs,
hmm.
and really want to play the full game. There's no way you can buy the game down in Zimbabwe, so we kind of figured out how to kind of crack the games, understand the inner workings, and very, very early, very rudimentary reverse engineering, but definitely a degree of hacking there. And from there, it's almost like this fire gets lit inside you, and this curiosity of I can make this thing do something it's not supposed to do. And
Hmm.
that's almost the essence of being a hacker. It's like making any system, whatever it is, if it's physical or software, do something the designers didn't intend for it to do. And back in the 90s, it was very grungy back then, and there were all kinds of Trojans and bulletin board systems and IRC, kind of almost grungy hacker underworld. Back then, we didn't even realize that we were hacking. We're just tinkering and playing.
Yeah.
The career aspect only came much later after university. I went to university to study computer science just because that's what I was good at. Only after that, there was a career day where a company came along and they gave a presentation on, we could pay you to hack into banks. I'm like, that is news to me. Where do I sign up? Because back then it wasn't as well a known career path, I would say. And that's where the professional life took off, I would say.
Well, you brought up something, a great memory about cracking CD games and just kind of get some context to some folks. Back then, game developers didn't have big budgets to make like a demo
Yeah.
disc and a full game disc. It didn't work like that. And because of the physical delivery of CDs, because you had to actually mail these things
Mm.
out and distribute them that way through the mail, not digital downloads like we got today.
Yeah.
So that physical disc actually contained the whole game. And so in the coding,
Mm.
they had like where you could play like maybe one level or a few levels, and then
Mm.
it would prompt you to want to purchase the game, and they would give you a
Mm.
code that would unlock the rest of the game that was on the CD. So that full game
Mm.
was on every CD and disc. So by
Mm.
being able to crack the game, you're bypassing that little one measure and or
Yeah.
figuring out the code or codes. Sometimes there were multiple codes that they had to
Mm.
unlock the full game. So you just brought up a great, what I call a cyber core memory that I have from the
Yeah.
90s. So thank you for sharing that story. Along your journey, and again, we're about to get into all the other things you do with your businesses, but
Mm.
along your career so far, this goal of this question is kind of like shine a light on the names of people that had a positive impact on you, whether they were coworkers, colleagues, managers, directors,
Yeah.
executives, or just people that you admired in industry that kind of paved the way for you. But the goal of this
Mm.
question is to kind of pay homage to those that had a
Yeah.
positive impact on you. So think of it like the
Yeah.
Oscar speech, where I
Yeah.
know you're not going to be able to
Yeah.
think of all the names, but
Yeah.
for the next minute, what are some folks that you
Yeah.
would like to pay homage to?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, back in the early days, I used to really admire and look up to anyone who spoke at the big hacker conferences, Black Hat and DEF CON. Used to view those conferences as some kind of almost place of worship. Hold it in that kind of level of respect. And back then, if it's Jeff Moss, the guy who started DEF CON, or all the early hackers, back in the 90s, you have these hacker groups, the Loft Heavy Industries and Masters of Deception and Legions of Doom. My favorite group was Evil Angelica. Don't know who that is. If you're out there listening, thanks for the thanks for the inspiration. But these kind of anonymous hacker groups who back then would kind of just deface websites almost for mischief. There's no criminal component or anything beyond that. But that got me really excited and kind of inspired me not really to join that world of hacking, but just that I didn't want to go and deface websites, but them showing that you could do this, they could break into systems and make them do things that they weren't supposed to do was very exciting. The possible seminal moment for me was Roloff Temming. He wrote a paper called Breaking into Computers Over the Internet. I read that in the mid 90s, I think. Got a PDF printed off at school, I think, and it just kind of laid out the mindset and the methodology of being a hacker. Because even today, if you chat to someone who's not too technical, they don't really understand, this hacking thing. It's something breaking into computers. It's something quite ephemeral. And even back then, when I was kind of learning how systems work, and wouldn't even say I was hacking back then, I was just understanding systems and trying to bypass them just for curiosity. But there was no real methodology. It was kind of just very much haphazard. And Roloff's paper outlined the process in a very methodical way. So it was like I've been trying to learn to speak French for ages, but I just had snippets of words here and there. And then someone gave me a textbook that had lessons and a path to follow. And that was a very fascinating paper. And for me, I still remember getting the printout at school and reading that. So that was probably the pivotal moment for me. And I ended up going to work at the company he started, SensePost, just after he left. But between Roloff and Haroon, the two founders of SensePost, where I used to work, they probably lit the fire in my belly to go down this path.
Wonderful. And if there's a link to that PDF or that book or report anywhere that you can share with us, I'll
Yeah,
gladly put it in the description below. Uh, you're the CEO of Agger Labs, and one of the
yeah.
specialties of Agger Labs is about ransomware. And of course, ransomware, we've been hearing about it for about a good 5+ years, and it's in the
Mm.
top three things that, government agencies, businesses, small businesses, everybody can
Mm.
be impacted by ransomware, right? And then once you're the victim, most people say, "Oh, that'll never happen to me," until it happens to you, right? So,
Absolutely.
so what is the unique thing that Agger Labs? What is the approach? Because different companies have their different approaches to dealing with
Mm.
ransomware. What is Agger Labs' approach?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. The starting point to answer that is our collective backgrounds. I'm one of three co-founders. We're a small, tight-knit group, about 8 of us so far in the company, but our collective backgrounds are offensive cyber. So we've all spent our careers breaking into systems, reverse engineering, training, all over the world, Black Hat, DEF CON, Zero Nights, everywhere in between. So we've got our hacker pedigree, I would say. And a good chunk of our collective careers has been bypassing protections on the endpoint. So if that's antivirus or EDR or any of those types of systems, in order to conduct the red team exercise. So bypassing tooling to conduct the red team exercise, which is what hackers do when they want to deploy a ransomware. They'll break in, get comfortable, and then disable the protections, if that's EDR or something else. So we kind of flipped our model of thinking to, okay, we are the world experts in bypassing these protections. Can we build a product that would stop us? And that was part of the inspiration. Another part of the inspiration was a bit frustrating that existing solutions weren't really up to the task of stopping ransomware. You have these really big, billion-dollar EDR type companies. They stop garden variety ransomware, but they're not really stopping anything that's new or novel or even just slightly tweaked. And we found that quite surprising. So we put our minds together a couple of years ago and came up with a novel approach. And Agger almost has two big pieces. So the one piece is the counter ransomware that detects and kills ransomware on your endpoint. So if it's a laptop or a server, it does all the compute locally. Nothing goes to the clouds. It can be air gapped if you want to. Everything runs local. And we have two ways we do that. We have our core engine that consumes telemetry via kernel mini filter, and that gets fed into a local deterministic engine, which determines if something is ransomware or not. So a big fluffy way to say there's a model we built by hand. There's no learning periods or training or AI. It runs locally. Information from running processes gets fed in, and it's almost our secret sauce. We built that model, and that detects and kills ransomware. Even zero-day variants, if something brand new comes out, we still detect it. The second part is what we call our deception engine. Our deception engine lays traps on the system and it baits ransomware into interacting with us. So we'll lay traps on the file system in terms of files or in the registry and COM objects and shadow file system, places we know that ransomware likes to poke around. The higher level idea there is that we focus on the intrinsic behaviors of ransomware. The old school thinking is very much signature led or kind of AI, ML type models or heuristics, where they focus a lot more on the internals or even signatures and things. We are interested in the behavior. Ransomware has to behave in a certain way to be ransomware. And it turns out our idea was phenomenally successful because we're 2 years in now. We're onboarding customers left, right, and center. We're still a small technical agile team, but our product is orders of magnitude better than the competition. We also have our big second component is what we call our EIP, Endpoint Integrity Platform. And that's almost a brand new offering. No one else is doing that. The EIP essentially keeps your endpoint, your laptop, your server, whatever it is, safe. So Agger, the EIP component, that's almost like anti-tampering component that will make sure that no one stops Agger, but it'll also make sure no one stops or messes with CrowdStrike or MDE or your backup server or anything else. It's like having a bodyguard on your system. One, it keeps all your other software safe. Two, we have the counter ransomware thing. Because the way these hacks go down, hackers break in, they get comfortable, they check what software you're running, and then they either disable it or bypass it. And we address, both of those situations. And to be honest, it's going well. It's going a lot better than expected. We did it kind of for fun initially, but now we're building a
Would you
business
be
out of
running
it.
it right now on your system right now?
Absolutely. Who wants to have a sneak peek?
Yeah, let's do this. I'm gonna go ahead and make you host so that you can record. There you go.
Share screen. Amazing. So the architecture is almost simple. It's no bells and whistles. We do one thing and we do it well. We kill ransomware. We keep your endpoint safe. So here's the standard. Was this Windows 10? I think running in a VM here. Before I had kids, I used to play computer games. Now my gaming rig is in the loft running virtual machines, but que sera, sera. So here's Agger running on this Windows 10 machine. Super simple. You can install it in about 20 seconds. There's the installer on the command line, or just double click the installation package down here. No reboot required, up and running. Here are a bunch of very important files. What hackers would do, they would break in and they would deploy ransomware. Not everyone has seen ransomware get deployed. It's actually fairly straightforward. It's just a program that runs, and when it runs, it tries to encrypt your files and drop a ransom note. So here's a folder appropriately named biohazard. So here be dragons. Tread carefully. These are live ransomware samples. So here's Reciter, and we can just go, the term we use is detonate. So we can detonate that ransomware sample. Not my term, just the industry. And there it is. Agger immediately terminated that. All of our files are safe and happy. And we can deploy as many of these as we want to. Agger will kill them in milliseconds. And that's happening locally, no compute in the cloud, air gapped. You won't even notice. You can turn off these notifications if you don't want user to see them. Legacy support back to Windows 7, Windows 2000. And we're the only platform in the space to have our SE Lab certification. I got my pitch down because we were one of the 4 finalists in the Black Hat startup competition end of last year. Had a 5-minute pitch to wow the judges, Dragon Den style. But anyway, there's Agger running, and then we have our dashboard, standard web panel dashboard you log into. Here are all the endpoints being protected in my pretend estate. There's that Windows 10 box, Windows 7, Windows 2019. Click on any of these, and here are the incidents. A lot of demos this week. Here are all these ransomware samples
Those are the 3 you just clicked, yeah.
And compare that to any other security product you have. I won't name names, but when you have such a big dashboard, you have big configuration or a month of learning periods, like it's quite bulky and tiresome. We don't like that. We built this by hackers to stop hackers. Simple. Agent runs on the endpoint, keeps the system safe from hackers meddling with it, kills ransomware if it tries to run, and if hackers try to disable your EDR, your antivirus, or anything else, we'll stop them and send a message back saying, hey, someone's tampering. Early warning systems. So that is Agger in a nutshell. Sometimes I get a request to do, get a meeting booked for an hour-long meeting to give a demo. I'm like, well, I'll give you a demo in 60 seconds, and then we can fill it up with whatever else you want to chat about.
So one of the questions I would have is you say a lot of everything runs locally on the endpoint, right? So my
Hmm.
first question would be what if what if someone in a position to run multiple attacks at the same time? Have you stress tested how many
Yeah.
I guess the question I'm looking for is at what level would the
When
either
do we
the
fail?
huh? Yeah.
When do we fail?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. I can answer in two ways. So one is the likelihood of a real hacker doing that is almost zero.
Yep.
In fact, trying to detonate, so there I detonated 3 or 4 samples in a row. Um, and what one of those was a tweaked 0 day. So it was an existing sample that we downloaded and tweaked so it would bypass any existing solutions. But the point is that no hacker group will go and deploy multiple instances of different strains of ransomware. That's
It's
just not how they
very
operate.
complicated to do so. Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense because they I mean, they might detonate one, it didn't work, come back a day later, but we still do stress tests. So there, I just detonated 3 samples in a row. I've got a demo we can share in the links afterwards where we just detonate back to back, must be 10, 50, 100 samples. Doesn't matter. We'll
Yeah.
kill them all. And by the
That's an
nature of
awesome
how we
test to do.
operate, yeah, yeah. And we have an entire QA team, their entire job, all they do is a bunch of really hungry graduates who are just they want to learn and we're trying to empower them. Their job is try to break Agger, get samples, get new samples, get them past it, get 0 days, tweak existing samples. You will not get past Agger. You will get past other products, but we will
Yeah.
not get past Agger. And our SE Lab certification, that's a third party body, and they did the testing. Is what Glenn's saying the truth? Does it do what it says on the tin? And they spent a month trying to break us and they couldn't. And a shout out to SE Labs, they're amazing and they did a great job trying to break us.
Well, wonderful, and thank you and your founders for creating Agger Labs and creating a wonderful product to help
Yeah, thank you.
businesses and individuals be safe from ransomware. Because again, we still hear about it. Even today, you would think that
It
it would
is.
already have been a problem solved, but it's still a
Mm-mm.
challenge for a lot of
It's getting
folks.
worse.
And it's getting worse in a lot of cases.
Mm.
One of your other hats and titles you wear, you're the ambassador of the hacking games. So
Mm.
is the hacking games like the Olympics? Is it the Olympics of hacking? Because we're in the Winter Olympics right now this time of year.
Yeah,
But what is the hacking games about?
yeah, good question. I think there's a Hacker Olympics. I think that's a name that we should go and buy the domain or something. So it's not the Olympics. That the Hacking Games is an initiative to try and steer the youth of today away from a path of cybercriminality and towards a path of ethical hacking.
Like that.
Luckily, when I was, say cutting my teeth, when I was learning about hacking and getting into the space many, many years ago, um, the scene was very different, and the cyber criminal component wasn't as prevalent or wasn't really much of an option, to be honest. I don't think I would have gone down that route anyway, but the temptation wasn't there. What we're finding today is teenagers, generally it's boys, but there are girls, but generally teenage boys, they play computer games and they're really good at computer games. There's a strong aptitude for these games. And when they start figuring out how these things work, and maybe it's just a case of bypassing protections to get more points or more lives or something like that. There's a degree of going down a criminal path there, but also hacker gangs are almost preying on these youths in these forums. So these online computer games, Minecraft and Roblox, all these forums. Hey, I see you're really good at this game. Do you want to make do you want to make a bit of money? Can you help me with this project? And they'll slowly, step by step, almost groom them into getting
Mm.
into these hacker gangs. And what we are doing, so I'm an ambassador there, so it's like a non-paid, just I love the idea and I want to help out. We'll go and speak at schools. We will run webinars. There's a whole new AI aptitude test that we encourage parents to get go get your teens to try it out to see if they have the mental aptitude for a path in cybersecurity, because it's a well-paid job, it's a fun
Hmm.
career. You can
Yep.
get paid to hack into banks, which is always the selling line I use. It's a ton of fun. Because if you go down the cyber criminal path, maybe early on it's a bit exciting when the money's okay, but you will inevitably get caught or get into a bad position,
Yep.
and that's not great. So it's a initiative to inspire the next generation of ethical hackers.
Well, thank you for creating that, and we'll have the link for the socials and site in the description below. All right, so now you're also a 3X founder, so you got a couple of businesses you founded, and that seem to have
Yeah.
some pretty cool tools or projects associated to. So, do you mind talking through the three different entities?
Yeah. So let's see. So first half of my career was pen tester, red teamer, ethical hacker. So that was doing the almost the operator. So day in day out hacking into organizations all over the world, training and research and everything. I left that must be 10 years ago this year, I think. And that was initially to focus on one startup. And the idea there was at my old job, I used to work at a company called SensePost, which was acquired by Secure Data, which was acquired by Orange Cyber Defense. I used to run a lot of social engineering campaigns. So that's just when on an engagement, if I'm trying to hack you, I won't try and hack your servers. I'll try and trick your staff, your employees into handing over some level of access. Maybe it's clicking a link, entering their password, opening a document with something malicious inside it. But the idea being that I try and hack your people rather than your systems. And I noticed that I had some regular customers who I would do as kind of social engineering engagement for whatever, once every 6 months or something. And I would always get in. It's like every time, right, got in, and here's your report, sometimes even using the same techniques and the same lures. So back then, this is 10 years ago. And I thought, okay, maybe we can create a phishing simulation platform. And there were a few offerings around at the time. We had some ideas on a better way to approach it. And the idea there was just make it's almost the same ethos as Hacker, as that same ethos as Agger. Do one thing and do it right. So create
Mm-hmm.
software that is it does what it says on the tin, no frills, no fuss, just get the job done. So Polira was the first play in that space for us, and that was a phishing simulation and a training framework. And that for me was kind of my first dipping my toe in the entrepreneur's fountain of life or something, figuring and of course going back and see all the mistakes we made and all the things we could have done better, but that's how you learn. You
Yeah.
fail by going on this journey. So that project ran its course. We got a few customers, but we raised a bit of money early on, just like some seed capital. We didn't quite get it to the point where it was polished enough or enough paying customers. It kind of fizzled a bit. On the back of that, I personally, that company kind of folded. Then I personally, from the ashes, maybe a year later, spun off a new iteration of that, slightly different, built 100% by myself. That was Capenta. So Capenta.io was my second play into the phishing simulation and training space. A few new ideas, even more lightweight, and on the back of a project called GoFish. So GoFish is kind of standard open source phishing sim framework. I'm actually now the owner and moderator of that project because I contributed so much to it. The guy kind of gave me control of it. But Capenta, which is a fish from Zimbabwe, which is where I'm from, it's like a little sardine type fish. But Capenta.io, that's a phishing simulation framework. That's still going. That's a nice little initiative because that's just me. My overheads are I think $8 a month for hosting,
Mm-hmm.
and any customers who come along, that's great. Somewhat ironically, I'm not going to recommend people sign up to my own product. There's a whole interesting, maybe other episode to unpack this. But in 10 years of running phishing simulation training and awareness and everything, I don't see an improvement in user behavior, which is interesting. It's fine. You have to kind of accept that we tried this and maybe it's not the best
Mm-hmm.
thing. And there's tons of instances of this in cybersecurity. We used to recommend that you change your password every month and all kinds of things like that. That was the theory. It's a good theory or good hypothesis. We've tested it and realized that actually encourages bad user behavior, bad passwords, and bad security in the end. So I recommend don't change your passwords. And I think we need to address this in the phishing simulation frame space. It's a good hypothesis. I think there's still cases where you can run it, but the idea of tricking your employees into doing something and then naughty employee, don't do that, it's not a great feeling for anybody.
Creates a culture of
And
distrust, right? And yeah, the
exactly
bad
that.
taste in your mouth, that bad feeling. I think,
Yeah.
in regards to phishing, we are seeing it emerge again as a
Mm.
credible threat because of AI doing better prompting and
Yeah, doing better things.
the pretexting of the
Yeah.
phishing attempt, and even making the emails better and the messaging, more
Mm.
convincing. And so, yeah, we're going to just see it be more and more prevalent, especially with,
Mm.
HD video where they can make it look like
Mm.
you're on a Zoom call or Teams call with your boss. It's
Yep.
gonna get it's just gonna get crazier because it's as AI
Mm.
keeps rapidly evolving. It was just a year and a half ago where people were talking, oh, it's doing extra fingers on hands and body dysmorphing, bodies and toes and
Yeah,
etc. To now it's full high definition video right now, right?
yeah,
And
picture
so
perfect.
in another 1 to 3 years, what is it going to look like? It's just going to be
Mm,
almost, I believe it'll be indistinguishable from like right now. Like
mm.
1+ years from now, they could be having whole podcasts with our
Yeah,
characters
are we
AI
real?
driven. Yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah,
um, so
exactly.
I like to take a moment and take a break from the tech talk. This is what I call my
Mm,
moment of levity, where I'm going to just shoot you some rapid
yeah,
fire questions. There's no right or wrong answer. So right out the
yeah.
gate, this one splits all the IT people in the room. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek all the way.
Trek. Which crew of the Star Trek is your favorite?
Easy. TNG, Next Generation,
Okay, next
Picard,
year. So
and the
that's
crew.
Picard, correct?
Yeah, Picard. Yeah, yeah. I grew
Picard.
grew up
Okay.
on that every Friday night, 7 p.m. as a kid.
Well, who was your favorite character of that crew?
Probably Data.
Data. Okay.
Any data driven episode was a favorite episode, I would say.
Awesome. All right. So here's the next one. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Okay. So you heard it from Glenn. Hot dog's not a sandwich. Cake or pie?
uh, Cake.
What kind of cake?
Cheesecake is my favorite. If
Cheesecake.
you're
Hot or
listening, I'll
cold cheesecake?
definitely cold with whipped cream on top.
With whipped cream on top. I like that. What has been your most favorite book of all time that you've read, and what was the last book that you've read?
Yeah. So favorite, oh gosh, it's probably Permutation City by Greg Egan. The category is hard sci-fi, which is kind of sci-fi that could be true, kind of extrapolating from current technologies. But he had some seminal ideas on virtualization and those kinds of technologies, but like back in the 90s, alternative universes. But Greg Egan, Permutation City, it's an excellent book. The last book I read was Control Alt Chaos by Joe Tidy, and he's a BBC journalist. Amazing book. It's kind of a story-driven, narrative-driven expose on teenage hackers,
Mm.
and yeah, it's really easy to read and quite fascinating insight.
Wonderful. So let's get back to if someone wanted to go into hacking pen testing, and I know there's a hundred
Yeah,
plus different opinions, and of course anyone could just Google and they'll find 100+ websites. But if you was
yeah,
trying to tell someone right now that's watching right now, saying,
mm,
hey, they're
yeah,
interested into pursuing something like that, is there a YouTube channel you recommend,
mm,
a website? What are some
mm,
resources that you would throw out? And if you can't think of them right now, it's okay. You can always give me the links, and folks, there'll be all the links that Glenn
yeah.
gives me is just going to be copy pasted down below.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's a good question, and I get asked it. Well, I get asked it a lot, and I volunteer the information a lot. So I speak at schools and universities and career days. My general answer is getting into cybersecurity. That's pen testing, red teaming, hacking, whatever you want to call it. Getting into cybersecurity is a lot easier than other industries. So if you want to be a doctor, you should probably go to medical school. If you want to get into cybersecurity, you could go and get the certifications and degrees and things like that. But it is definitely a career path where you definitely can be self-taught. There are a lot more almost career pathways these days. When I got into this, it's just people learned how to do it and you got on with it. I still think the best hackers I know are self-taught. You can definitely do both, but if you have that kind of self-taught energy, the almost primary component is curiosity and tinkering and wanting to understand how systems work and make them do something different. The desire to break and understand systems for the sole purpose of I wonder how it works. Can I make it do something different? Of course, if you just want to make money, it is a decent career path, but it does help if you're driven by that curiosity. In terms of specifically getting into it, so one, I'll say, reaching back to the hacking games, go to the website and there's an AI aptitude test that will kind of test your aptitude for the thinking skills that you need to be a good hacker. It's largely kind of problem solving, analytical thinking. The analogy I give, which goes back to one of my mentors, Marcos Laverio, the analogy he used was hacking is like trying to fix a car's engine with a long piece of wire through the exhaust pipe. So it's very non-standard way of thinking. You don't get a lot of feedback. It's very frustrating. But when you have success, the rush is incredible from that level of constraint, being able to change a system at quite a dramatic level. So definitely go check out the Hacking Games aptitude test. In terms of specific resources, the best advice I can give you is build your own infrastructure and understand its weaknesses. So at home, go and learn about virtual machines instead of a virtual machine lab environment at home. Make your own little mini network, create a Microsoft network, domain controllers and everything, create little websites and things, and then go and get the hacker tools to just start poking at them. So get a copy of Kali Linux, all this run locally in your own environment, do some network scanning and learn about the network stack, TCP IP and BGP, all these protocols, understand how all this technology fits together, do some programming, learn to make some websites and some applications, and then try and break them. It's the best way. Because if you go straight in at almost the hacking side without understanding how things work underneath, you'll find it a lot harder. Also, if you build your own environment, you're not going to get in any kind of trouble. Don't go and fire up Nmap and scan FBI.gov. You will go to jail. But create your own environment and try and break into that. And it's tons of fun. Go buy a Wi-Fi router on eBay, set it up, learn how Wi-Fi works. Grab the handshake, crack the handshake. It's exciting, even though it's a somewhat constrained environment. And beyond that, the other resource that comes to mind, we'll drop this in the doobly-doo below, Caps Lock. And it's definitely in the UK. I'm not sure if it's international, but Caps Lock, they're an organization that helps you get into the cybersecurity path. They have really good certifications and courses at a reasonable price, and they almost guarantee you a job afterwards. I know quite a few people have gone through that. But at the end of the day, go and learn things yourself, explore. Maybe there's formal pathways to go down, but just start by tinkering. Reach out to me on LinkedIn or come to my website and I can give you further advice.
That's awesome, Glenn. The next question I had for you is what is coming up in the rest of 2026 for you? What stages are we going to see you on
Yeah,
conferences, events?
yeah,
Do you maybe have a book that you might be working on? Is there another business you're developing, or another solution or service or product you're working on? What can you
yeah,
share? What are your big goals for the rest of 2026?
yeah. Absolutely good question. So the two big focuses this year. So one is definitely the Agger Labs. Last year we finished building the product. Now the product is solid. This year we're expanding the business. So it's a year from now we'll be doing this interview and Agger will be a unicorn company. Hey Glenn from the future, maybe. But the point is we're growing the business this year, both in terms of the product. So the product is still things we want to add. We've got loads of new ideas and Linux support, and we've got a little new AI Overwatch component. But the biggest push will be bringing on customers, and that's new and exciting for me. Coming as a technical founder, technical background, right? Let's learn the reins of growing a very large, successful business. The other side for me is my speaking career. So I've been speaking on stage for 14 years now, I think. Initially the big hacker conferences, then more corporate type work. Last year was the first year I lent very hard into it. Like normally it was just a bit of extra work here and there. But last year, like let's make this part of my career. There's a little bit touch and go, making payments and things last year. But this year, we're in Feb. I've already got 18 bookings for the year. I've got trips all over the world. And I love going on stage and sharing my passion for hacking, for cybersecurity, for the industry. I tell stories. I give live demonstrations. It's almost the way I describe it is lifting the veil on the murky world of hacking. Let me show you what it looks like to hack, and let me show you why I'm excited about it. So if you're looking for a keynote speaker or moderator, I'm your guy. Other things, book. That's a good question. I've been chatting to some friends who've written books. I really do want to get that done. At least start the groundwork this year. Write a book, maybe start my own podcast. Those types of outreach type initiatives, championing the hacking games, and the other thing I do outside of work, I just noticed the T-shirt I'm wearing. I train and teach physical self-defense. So my tagline is almost, I keep you safe online and offline.
Is
So
that
getting
Krav
more,
Maga?
yeah, well done, Krav Maga.
Yeah, awesome. I did some private lessons several years ago for another YouTube channel I had. I admire the
Awesome.
tenacity on the speaking arrangements. So last year I did
Mm,
13 events. This year I'm only doing about 7 or 8. I'm trying to like
yeah,
focus on other things, but I do admire. It does take a lot of dedication
yeah,
to lean in like that. Um,
yeah. And it's somewhat ironic story there that public speaking used to be my absolute greatest fear. When I got into my first proper job as a pen tester hacker, my dream was to go and speak at Black Hat. Like, oh my goodness, that would be the best thing in the world. I
Mhm.
wish I could do that, but I'm so terrified of being on stage. But I just have to start putting myself out there so I can learn how to do it, and then one day go to Black Hat. And yeah, I went to Black Hat and DEF CON and everything else, and I still didn't like it. It was still hard, but kept practicing, and now I actually love it. So it's one of those things where lean into the edge, lean into your edge, find the difficult thing and push through, and you might find something that's actually wonderful.
Wow. Thanks for that advice, though, for anyone watching. You definitely just gotta just jump in the pool sometimes. You just gotta go
Yeah,
both feet in.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So a lot of us professionals were really busy with, like running companies, building products, tools,
Mm.
and speaking everywhere from classrooms to stages, global stages. But a lot of us professionals,
Mm.
we make time in our lives for causes that are like near and dear to our heart, for organizations like nonprofit, volunteer charities that are doing good
Yeah,
things in the world. So the goal of this question is:
yeah,
there a nonprofit, charity, volunteer work, whether you give of your time, energy, or money, that you want to shine a light on and share with anyone
yeah.
watching to say, hey, this organization is doing some great work. I really believe in their mission and cause. And then we'll also get their socials and websites in the description below. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And the easy answer is the White Hat Ball, the White Hat charity. So I attended the ball for the first time, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago? So it's a big black tie event in London, and it's to raise money for the NCPCC, the National Child Line support line. So it's a charity that helps children who are in a bad situation. The child can phone up the helpline, get help if they are in a not ideal situation. That night, I'm going to say we. I mean, I made some small contribution. We managed to raise £500,000, which
wow.
is what towards 700,000 US, maybe in that direction. But that's definitely an initiative worth donating some money to. They do amazing work. They're strapped for cash. It's been running 40 years or something, I think. They used to be able to answer 100% of phone calls. They can only answer about 80% now, I think it is, just due to staffing constraints and budget constraints. So I think that's an excellent initiative to go and donate some money to.
Wonderful. And then all their socials and their websites, please provide it to me. We'll have it in the description
Yeah,
below.
drop it down below.
So I just want to kind of circle back on Agger Labs and the ransomware, right? If a business owner, whether they're, a sole proprietor or from a
Mm,
small to medium-sized business, home office, small office, to a major corporation that could be watching at
mm,
this moment right now, what
mm.
is some guidance you'd give them on their maybe to shift their perspectives of what they think ransomware is? Some folks think that, oh, well, we got all
Mm.
these, we pay for all these different services. We have a SOC service. We might have
Yeah,
all these things that they think that's protecting them. But what is some guidance
yeah,
and perspective you'll give them with, since you're what I call in the trenches of the
yeah,
ransomware war, right? So what is some
yeah.
perspective and guidance you'd give someone that is, looking to
Mm,
protect their business or to get more knowledgeable? Because again, knowledge is power.
mm.
It's empowering
Yeah, absolutely.
because there's a lot of solutions looking for problems out there in the world. But here it is. We have something, Agger Labs has got something that looks really awesome, but not just
Mm.
about Agger Labs, but what about ransomware should people really be paying attention to?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the keynote talks that I do are around ransomware. It's the history of ransomware, how we got here, where we're going, what we can do about it. The long story short is, well, first up, a little bit of a trivia for the audience. If you can take a moment and try and guess when the first instance of ransomware ever came into existence was. Any guesses, Jim? I'll give you a clue.
Nope. I will have the
Some
Jeopardy music queue up, but
the clue I always give is it's somewhere between 1900 and 2026 to help out the audience a bit. I jest. So it's a 1989, would you believe? So 1989, it was called a malware extortion attack back then. A chap called Joseph Pop wrote a bit of software, distributed on a floppy disk. For the young members of the audience, a floppy disk is like a USB drive. For even younger members, a USB drive is like cloud storage. But anyway, distributed by a floppy disk and kind of scrambled your files and gave you a big pop-up message saying, hey, please send me $189 in the post and I'll give you a tool to get your files back. Not great because obviously he gave up his home address, please kicked down his door and arrested him. But the idea was there. You can have scrambled files and hold them for ransom. The big pivotal change was when Bitcoin came along. So 2008, Bitcoin, seminal paper, this idea that you could have anonymous currency, anonymous transactions, decentralized, deregulated. And of course, any new technology criminality always jumps on board, whatever that tech is. And
Hmm.
2013 was the first big instance of crypto locker. 2013 instance
Yep.
of ransomware that demanded payment in Bitcoin. Back then, it was like only $300. Initially, they targeted individuals. Only later, they realized they could target entire organizations. The average ransomware attack these days costs 4.5 million US dollars, and that's excluding the ransomware payment. That's ancillary costs of downtime and lost customer confidence and things like that. Where we've got to today is what I call the industrialization of the underground cyber criminal economy. And back in the day, maybe 5 years ago or so, if you wanted to get into this ransomware game, you would need to write your own ransomware software, go and hack into some systems, go and deploy it, and negotiate, and try and get payments and things. These days, there's this entire underground economy. You can go on the dark web and you can go join an affiliate program for these ransomware gangs. And
Ransomware
you
as a
go
service.
join.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's ransomware as a service. Sign up for $170, get a copy of Dragon Force, go deploy it. Dragon Force takes 30%, you take 70%. Coupled with that is IABs, initial access brokers. So hackers will break into organizations willy nilly, sell that access on the dark web. So you, Mr. Viewer, don't do it, but you could go along on the dark web forums, get a copy of Dragon Force, get a copy of these initial access brokers, to get access to some system, put them together, and hey presto, the somewhat scary part there is the lack of barrier to entry. It's quite easy to get into that criminal racket, I would say. That combined with we are seeing fantastic steps forward with law enforcement,
Hmm.
both in terms of like local legislation, global cooperation, laws that allow law enforcement to actively hack back and take down these ransomware gangs. And the response we're seeing from the ransomware gangs is quite interesting. It's almost like mergers and acquisitions, M&As are going on. These groups
Yeah.
are almost coming together, right? You guys are great at crypto stuff. We're great at phishing, whatever, and you're good at negotiating. Let's
You're
form
the
some
peanut
sort of
butter and we're the jelly.
hmm, yeah,
Let's make a
yeah,
sandwich. Yeah.
yeah, exactly that. And then so where Agger fits in and how we're taking the fight to ransomware, our approach is fundamentally different. All existing solutions, be they if they're EDRs or dedicated ransomware protection solutions, they all have what we call globalized technology. They rely on an old style of thinking. And one of the biggest problems in that space is that hackers will go get a copy of your software. If you have some kind of EDR, you can go on the dark web, you can rent a copy of insert name of latest EDR, $500, get a week of access, and tweak your ransomware payload until you bypass it.
Hmm.
The Agger approach, we have a dynamic approach in that every endpoint we protect is subtly different. So even if you did get a copy of Agger, we don't care. I'll give it to you, Mr. Hacker. Every endpoint's different. So if you manage to bypass Agger in your lab, it will still it'll still work when you try and deploy it in anger in the real world. So that dynamic protection, coupled with our very unique EIP, the Endpoint Integrity Platform, we are your bodyguard. Agger will look after your EDR, your backup software, all the other things that hackers will go and disable. And just go on not even the dark web, go on GitHub, get a copy of EDR freeze. You can turn off most protection mechanisms. Never mind the dark web and go get the $1,000, get a copy of some software that will guarantee turn off any protection mechanisms. You cannot stop Agger. We've built a different category of product. So one, we'll keep your endpoint software safe. Two, we will detect and kill ransomware in less than 20 milliseconds locally, unlike any other product on the market. And we're quite proud of it. We're so excited to go on this journey. We One, we want to build a successful business, but two, we just want to do some good in the world. And yes, it's kind of fun to build something new, be quite excited about it, make a change, and a
Make
new
make
category of
great and
technology.
positive impacts in the world. I love it. Uh,
Yeah.
and for anyone that, he mentioned a lot about the dark web. There's also a deep web. There's the surface web, which is the internet as we know it, and then you got the deep web,
Mm,
which is kind of like think of it like paywalls to like journals and scientific papers and so forth. And then you have the
mm,
dark web, where if you heard about it in the news, is where people could buy like illegal drugs, firearms,
mm,
stolen credit card batches of data dumps, etc., and
mm,
ransomwares and malwares and all kinds of a lot of hacker groups
mm,
operate there for privacy and anonymity purposes, for nefarious purposes, malicious purposes.
mm,
But there's also a lot of good folks down there trying to do security research, like cyber threat intelligence as well as
Yep.
the law enforcement agencies, because a lot of those onion sites, they'll be up for a few weeks or months, then they'll be taken down.
Mm,
But it's not a big, most people think the dark web is just a massive
mm,
network, if you will, but it's not as big as
mm,
some people assume it to be. But there is a
mm,
lot of bad things down there. So if you do ever want to, tiptoe down there, I would highly recommend looking up some Google searches of how to protect your privacy and anonymity. If you do decide that you
mm.
want to, kind of be curious, as we said earlier, with hacking
Yeah.
and just, figuring out how things work. Please do
Mm,
some, take a few minutes to look at best practices when you do access the dark web. I'm actually delivering a dark web and cybersecurity talk at ISAC in North America in Las Vegas
excellent.
on May 6th. And I'm a partner with a person from Flare IO, so it's going to be a really cool conversation.
Nice.
Well, Glenn, I want to be respectful of your time, and I really appreciate everything you shared with me. And thank you to you and your founders for making Agger Labs and protecting
Mm,
businesses and individuals from ransomware. Because again, there's a lot of solutions looking for problems there, but it looks like you guys have
mm,
cracked the code. You have a unique
mm.
approach, and I wish you tremendous growth because again, the sales come when the results are there, right? When people are not having
Yeah, absolutely.
to worry about that. That's one major
Mm,
worry right off of a lot of
mm.
people's plates. Glenn, you wasn't prepared for this next question, but for all my guests, I do something to kind of put you on the spot. It's the last word. And when I say the last word, you could talk about Agger Labs. You could talk about your journey into cybersecurity, being a hacker. You could talk about your favorite
Yeah.
color, your favorite cuisine, your favorite place in the world to travel to, whatever you want to talk about. The floor is yours.
Good question. Goodness me. Let me think. I would like to talk about if you're planning a holiday, I would recommend that you come and visit my home country of Zimbabwe. I grew up there. It's a landlocked country in southern Africa. Absolutely beautiful country. We've got Victoria Falls, one of the seven wonders of the world. The friendliest people in southern Africa, if not the world. And we would wholly value your tourism money to come into the economy. It's a very safe place to visit. Drop me a line. Come stay with my family. Would love to host you. And that goes to you too, Jim. If you ever want to come to Africa and go on a safari, take you out and meet some lions.
Awesome.
Literally, we go on a lion. Literally, go on a lion walk. I take friends on lion walks and go and walk. They're somewhat tame. They're small, but go walk with the lions. But I think my parting words would be come visit Zimbabwe. I live in the UK now, but
Yeah.
come visit Zimbabwe.
Visit Zimbabwe. We'll have links for the tourism site as well. Glenn, thank you for being a wonderful guest on the Top Cyber Pro podcast, and I look forward to having you again down the road.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jim. Thank you everyone for listening. Take care.